Hi, I'm Lauren from Access Your Life, which is an online platform encouraging people living with disabilities and their carers to review medical equipment and share their experiences, all of which can help other people living in similar situations to achieve a brighter future. Now, this video is all about our top 10 tips for buying medical equipment. I am going to use wheelchairs as the main example throughout the video. However, you could probably use this advice for mobility scooters, power chairs, and maybe even other equipment. Number one is all about identifying your needs. Now, your physical abilities is far more than just whether you can walk or not. And when buying a wheelchair, you have to consider things such as your posture, your strength, your skin sensitivities, and dexterity. You also have to take into consideration whether your prognosis will change in the future, and if you are carer dependent, what they need to make the wheelchair as comfortable as possible when pushing or transporting it. You can get advice with things like this, especially from the NHS or private physiotherapists and occupational therapists, but it purely comes down to your own preferences. Now that you have established your physical needs, you can move on to assessing your personal preferences, which is number 2 on my list of top tips. Now, if you are unsure, you should start by deciding if you need a manual or powered wheelchair. And if you're debating between the two, consider how you would propel a wheelchair. Would you be able to do this independently? Would you need a carer to help you out? Would you prefer an assisted power pack on the back, or a powered chair with a joystick or something like head controls? You should also consider whether your physical needs will require you to have a specific feature such as a chair that has elevating leg rests or a rise and tilt function. And finally, do you have any desires? These are just as important as your physical needs. For me, I was adamant to have a bright pink wheelchair. Number 3 is all about practical considerations. Now you've taken the time to think about your physical needs and your preferences, take a moment to think about your lifestyle, your occupation, housing. Do you need a chair that can fit through a really narrow door or over a country park? How are you going to transport it? And how are you going to transfer in and out of it? Do you use a hoist that will have to be compatible with your wheelchair? And finally, going back to your future prognosis, if you have a condition that is going to change, is it worth getting a wheelchair that you can adapt? Now, I have a really unpredictable condition, so finding a chair that I could alter and modify was imperative. Number 4 is your budget. Now, most people know that the cost of a wheelchair is extortionate. However, your wheelchair is your lifeline. It is your way of accessing the world and being independent. So for some people, they know that they are happy and able to go through the NHS wheelchair services, but for others, they prefer to go down the private route. There is no right or wrong answer. It purely comes down to what you prefer and what you are able to afford. If you are more swayed towards the private market, you can look into things such as grants, VAT relief, the NHS voucher scheme, which is really useful, or organisations that can help you fund either part of your wheelchair or all of it. Some examples are Motability, Access to Work, and WizKids. Number 5 is all about research. So you've thought about your physical needs, practical considerations, your preferences, and your budget. You can start looking into what you want and what's available. Some people have a perfect understanding of what they want, the make, the model, where they're going to get it, but other people don't have a clue. I certainly didn't when I was newly diagnosed, and when you're suddenly thrown into the world of medical equipment, it's really overwhelming. So take your time, do your research. Now, you can seek professional advice with this, either from the NHS wheelchair services or an occupational therapist. However, I would strongly advise to do your own research and compare the two results, basically. And finally, read reviews. This will massively help you narrow down your options. And Access Your Life actually has a whole directory of equipment reviews for all kinds of wheelchairs from around the world in every shape, size, model, and this is something that is hugely important. Now People read reviews before buying anything, so why shouldn't we do the same when it comes to a wheelchair? Especially if you are going to be paying a lot of money, because there is nothing worse than buying something and then being stuck with something that is completely unusable. Number 6 is shop around. Now, whether you do this online or in store, it is vital that you stick to your guns and you are not encouraged to buy something that is completely incompatible with your needs. Look into whether you can trial the piece of equipment, whether that's at an event, in a showroom, or in your home environment. It is so beneficial to have an opportunity to actually go and test something out, as opposed to reading about it, assuming that it meets your needs, buying it, and then trying it at home and realizing it's not right. Some manufacturers and distributors actually allow customers to buy ex-demo equipment which is nearly new and sold at a considerably lower cost. There are also payment plans available which helps you to spread the cost out over a certain period of time, or look into second-hand. Sometimes people are selling equipment that has barely been used at a ridiculously low price. We actually have a page on our website that is dedicated to facilitating the rehoming of medical equipment. We have had so many people get in touch to say they have a wheelchair that they can no longer use, or it was actually unsuitable upon buying it, and they want to give it to someone else. Now, before ordering your wheelchair, take a moment to double check your measurements. You should never be squeezed into a wheelchair, but then you should also never have so much room that you are not supported or held into position correctly. I strongly advise that you seek professional help with this, whether that is purely getting a set of measurements that you can then use to order online is up to your personal preferences, but it's always advisable to just double check you are doing it correctly. Number 8 is ordering your wheelchair. Whether you are going through the NHS or a private retailer, ask for a copy of your order form. Then if you need to replace a part in the future, or it arrives and it's not as expected, you have proof of what you ordered, the exact measurements, the exact part names, and things like that. Also, expect a delay if you are buying a custom-made chair. This is because the chairs are not kept in a stock room and then just shipped out if they are made to measure. So don't go online or into a store and expect your wheelchair to be delivered tomorrow, unless you are buying kind of a preset chair. Number 9 is service and maintenance. When getting a new wheelchair, you should always consider how you can take care of it. Are you able to fix simple things such as a puncture or a broken brake, or will you need help with that? If so, who can you go to? Now, the NHS have an excellent repair and maintenance service in place, but if you are buying privately, look into local organisations that can help you out, especially if you are using powered equipment, because these things can just pack up at no notice and you will need help. And finally, take the time to regularly check over things, whether you do this yourself, your maintenance team help you, or your carer. Just check that there are no loose nuts and bolts, that your brakes are working, that your tyres are pumped up, little things like that that make a big difference. Number 10 is something we get asked about a lot, and that is insuring your wheelchair. This is certainly not imperative, and in fact it purely comes down to personal preference. However, I strongly advise you look into it if you travel abroad. Now, most typical travel policies do not cover equipment protection, so you can take out wheelchair insurance. However, if you are using this to protect you whilst travelling, make sure it covers any damage that may be done by baggage handlers, because this is where wheelchairs get the most damage. And that is my top 10 tips for buying a wheelchair. Regardless of what you buy, how you fund it, or where you get it from, remember that your wheelchair is a source of independence. It is going to improve your quality of life, and you should not be ashamed to use it. Once you have bought a wheelchair, regardless of whether you like it or not, please go to our website and fill out one of our online review forms so we can then feed the information back to the manufacturers to improve future services and help other potential customers decide whether that wheelchair is right for them. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!
Okay, we're going to be welcoming back Felix, who is the director of Access Your Life, and Lauren, who is a volunteer. Okay, so let's begin. Do I need to meet certain requirements to be eligible for a grant towards my medical equipment?
Or I'll let you lead on that one, considering you've literally just been through it.
Hiya, yeah. So there are loads of grants out there, and it sort of depends on your disability as to what grants you can apply for. As for certain help with grants, I definitely recommend getting in touch with Access Your Life, and we can help you with that. And sort of give you advice on that, because it is sort of a whole crazy another world. I would say, you know, some grants you might qualify for, and others you might not. So I found when applying for grants, there might have been 10 that were out there, and I qualified for 6 of them. But then someone else might find that they qualify for, you know, 8 and not the others. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It comes down to location and age and gender and loads of different things like that. But yeah, it is a difficult process, but it's so worth it with grants. But yeah, there's definitely some requirements, but there's definitely something out there for everyone.
And did you say there's sort of information on that on the Access Your Life website as well to guide them through it?
Not currently, but we are, like Laura and I have got conversations coming in the coming months. We're looking at launching a grant helping service, because I've got like a database of 50 different grants now and things like that. So I'm starting to profile all the information that we're going to need for that. So if anyone fills out a request form, if they put in the description about their needs, they add in that they're interested in adding to our grant service, then they can be listed. Like, we can get in touch with them soon on that, if that makes sense. We're just literally putting that stuff together, because what we learned through Lauren was really interesting, because we helped, like, do you want to explain? We helped you really find the wheelchair that you wanted in just the last few months.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've literally just gone through the whole process of getting a wheelchair, and I can't even put in words how much it's literally changed my life. I live in Brighton, and if anyone's ever been to Brighton, you'll know that it's literally a complete hill. The whole of Brighton is a massive hill.
Yeah.
I wasn't really getting out of the house, and my new chair that I've got through Access Your Life has completely been amazingly life-changing. And without the grant scheme and the support of Access Your Life, I wouldn't have been able to get such an amazing chair that's literally, been able to mean that I'm able to keep up with my friends at university. Yeah, no, it's been great.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Just getting that independence back and the right chair for you. Yeah. Okay.
Look, whatever someone's needs are, we'll work it out. Like, the best thing you can do is do your research. Like, we spent hours talking to Lauren about what she needs, what she wants. We went through different reviews on our website. And we took, like, the best thing you can do is take your time. As much as you need it now, this is about planning your next 3 to 5 years based on the wheelchair's lifetime. So
yeah,
it's about ensuring that we cover everything you need within that, or as much. See, also the other thing is, no wheelchair's going to fit everything that you want. So it's about working out, say you want 10 things, these are the best 7 that you can have, and we'll help you ensure that those 7 points you'll have for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. All right, that's great. That's brilliant. That's really helpful. Thank you. So if I was going to buy something secondhand, how do I go about making sure that it is safe and it's still of a good enough quality to use?
Well, we never recommend paying any money over the internet until you have tried the product, seen it, done it, if that makes sense. Like, so the reason why we have what we have, and what really worries me, is through lockdown and through what's been going on COVID, a lot of people have moved online, and there's lots of Facebook groups. There are trolls out there are fraudsters out there, and it's a dangerous game to be buying secondhand on the internet. So the best thing you can do is make sure that, like, if it's too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. And that's the first thing you got to think of. And I, like, always, if that's your only option, we'll look at it. we try and vet as much as we can and as much as humanly possible. Anyone that comes to us by going on their Instagram, make sure they've used it before, like it genuinely they are users for the products coming through, stuff like that. But do your research on the person, make sure you go and see that product, try it. And lots of the companies that you are getting second-hand product off, you can then pay to have a service of, or you can have that as part of the process. So you can say, look, I'd like to buy it, but I want you to send it to this, and I'll pay for them to have a look over the product, or they can do a full service on it as that process of you buying. So there are lots of ways we can ensure, an example, Tregnetic do it, so it can be sent to them, they can do a full service on it, you can have the few added bits you wanted on, stuff like that. So for example, we had one that was secondhand listed. We had a charity locally that tries to get people on beaches, and they were concerned about buying it secondhand. So we arranged for Tregnetic to take it in first, service it, make sure it had all the bits that they needed on for the charity within that system of where it went through payments and stuff like that. So we try and make, wherever possible, we'll make it as safe as we can. But we can't guarantee that someone won't slip through the net. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence, and make
Absolutely.
sure we will support you as much as we can.
Mhm. If you're on the other side of it and you're somebody with a good quality piece of equipment that you don't need anymore for whatever reason, and you want to donate or sell to somebody, is that something people can approach you with so that you can spread the word, or is it something you prefer people to do in person?
No, we literally have a button on our website for it. If you go on the Pretty page, you can have the sell it now button. You click it, write the description, and you got, the way you see it is, it's a national posted, like an old school advert in your post office. Really, it's an advert for that wheelchair that we put up, but across now internationally. If in that sense, I know with Brexit and that, it's complicated getting it out of the UK, but a large proportion of our users are English, and therefore, if you put it up there, anyone can see it. It's on our site. We've even been approached by in some cases where we were looking at export charges to America, where someone found a second-hand product on our website that they wanted in America. So, the thing is, it's always worth. It's going to be worth it to someone. You know, you spent a lot of money on that in the first place, even if it's knackered, but it's towards the end of its life. Even if it gives someone 6 months time.
I mean, my first scooter, for example, was secondhand. So someone else had got it secondhand from someone else, and then that made me end up finding Access to Your Life, because I realized it was second. You know, it sort of got me into the world of, okay, I've realized I need a wheelchair, and I've now used a secondhand scooter, and I've realized I actually need a chair. Okay, now I'm going to go to Access to Your Life, you know, talk about getting a chair. But it's the first step, you know, secondhand sometimes.
Of course.
Also, a second-hand chair is a really good way of learning what you need. If you don't qualify for NHS, and therefore you're not going to get to go and borrow one from the NHS for a while, or have one through the NHS, then getting a second-hand one, if you don't want to go and spend a fortune straight out the bat, and learn what you need. It's a really good way of not wasting a load of money, but also learning, like, do you know what? There are things you just don't think about, like vibration, or with. We took Lauren through the whole process, but so it's a way in which you can learn again. And also, if you're ever going to go, don't ever go and order something straight off the bat. Go try as many products as possible. If you're going to go to a distributor, sit in it for a long period of time. If you go up and down their lovely smooth showroom, that's nothing. Ask them to go around outside, go up and down a curb, try and find a bubbly thing with some potholes, take yourself over whatever your distributor's got around them, grass, anything. Because you've got to give yourself the most experience from that trial as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that
imagine yourself on your worst day. Yeah. Could you do it on your worst day? For sure. Because this might work for me today, but could you do it on your worst day? Probably not.
Remember, you're in a showroom with someone who wants to sell you something.
That's right.
And yes, we'd like to believe we live in a world where everyone cares about the outcome, but there are distributors out there that care more about how much money you got in your wallet. And you've got to remember that, like, you've got the power, you've got the money, you're spending it. They have to jump through every hoop that you want them to. So use that power in a certain sense, ask for stuff that you wouldn't normally ask for, push it to the limit, and try as much and get as much out of them as possible, because at the end of the day, they want the sale. And you have the buying power, so make sure you get what you can get out of them.
Yeah, and that's why these impartial reviews on Access Your Life are just so helpful, because there's no agenda there to sell anything. It's just real people's experiences that actually use the chair, not a salesperson.
Exactly, it's
Also,
honest.
I was going to say, and also the companies we work with allow us not, like we work with, like a pub has a free house, then we work with distributors that allow me to build you a wheelchair independent of what brands. So you could have 5 different manufacturers as part of the same product, because you might want an Invacare seat on a Quickie chair, and then you might want loop wheels with frog's legs. So even at that extent, you've already got 5 or 6 different wheelchair manufacturers building your perfect product. And don't also be afraid of that, because you will go and meet some distributors that again have a deal with Quickie or Sunrise, so they'll promote you the J seats and things like that, when a different seat may be best for you. So again, yeah, see it as a modular system that has got to be perfect for you, and therefore if you know a product out there exists and is compatible with that wheelchair, make sure you get it, even if it takes you slightly more time to save up that money.
Yeah. Okay, excellent point. Let's have a look and see what else we've got here. So if somebody wants to leave a review, is it just a case of popping on your website and clicking the review button and going through, even if it's not something, is there sort of products that are listed there that you leave reviews for, or can you put something brand new in?
We want to be the TripAdvisor of medical products, as in, so just like disability, so we're a community that I can't say every product, so I don't have experience in it. Like Lauren can only write about what Lauren's used, and therefore we need as many of you to write about any of your good, bad, indifferent experiences on any products that you've used, because they'll help someone else in a similar situation. One of the questions we get is, do you want another review on this product because you've already got one? I want as many reviews as possible on them, because your experience is different to the review we've got there. And the more reviews that we have, I'd rather have 10 reviews of, example, I don't know, a Sunrise Medical, Argon or something like that. I'd rather have 10 reviews, so the person that wants to go and buy one can read different opinions and different stories than just have one.
You always want to compare it to, like, if you're going to the shop to, you know, if you're going to go and buy the latest phone, you want to see what people think about it the same way you want to see what people think about the latest wheelchair.
Exactly, you wouldn't just take one person's opinion.
In terms of like people accessing, sorry to butt in, but the people accessing like how to actually fill out a review, just as a side note, if you go into Access Your Life's Instagram or Facebook page, earlier on in the year I have created like a video of exactly how to fill out a review form, so if people didn't know how to actually fill out the form on the website, it like there is a step-by-step there of how to go onto the section of the website to fill out a review. It's got like a voiceover of how to do it.
That's fantastic.
Accessibility function, if our system doesn't work for the needs you have, email us. If we have to do it over the phone, if I have to do it over a Zoom call, I'll type up the notes. Like, we'll accept reviews in any format. Your knowledge is always valuable. Just because our system may not fit your needs, and it's not the website might not be fully accessible as it can be, we're more than happy to accommodate around whatever's necessary for that person, so they can be included, be part of our community, and have, because I value their voice just as much as anyone else on our team.
Again, yeah, always pop a message if you have a review that you want put out there. The form could be completed on behalf of you or something like that. So.
Yeah, and then lastly, I'd say if you don't get a response from us as a team quickly, it's normally a calamity. Like, you look at me yesterday, I was putting my girlfriend in an ambulance to go to hospital, and then all of my team are disabled in some way or another, physical, mental. So, you know, everyone needs some time out every so often. So if you don't get a response straight away, it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's not that I don't want to help you. It's just that as a team, everyone in my team is out cold and needs a break. So
absolutely. Absolutely, yeah, it's a fantastic point there, Felix. That's great. Thank you so much for both of your presentations today. And I've learned a lot about what Access Your Life offers from these questions as well. You've got some really, really brilliant resources there. So for anyone watching either live or watching on playback, if you do go to our charities and services room, you will find Access Your Life there, where you can access their social links, their website, and there is also a WhatsApp link there as well, where you can leave your questions. Obviously, they'll get back to you as soon as they can, but you can contact them that way as well. Okay, thank you both very much. It's been brilliant to chat to both of you and really enjoyed your presentations.